The athletes you are about to see on Phenomenal Elite Wrestling are highly trained professionals who have spent years mastering their craft. Every maneuver, stunt, and performance is executed under strict supervision and with safety precautions in place. We urge all viewers, especially younger audiences, to never attempt to replicate or perform any of the moves seen on this program at home, school, or anywhere else. Stay safe, enjoy the show, and remember, leave the wrestling to the pros.
Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready for your next match? Your next match is a singles match and it is scheduled for... Introducing first.
Oh, great. Lance Revera, a former P.E.W World Champion, in fact, as he'll tell you, multiple times, given the opportunity, the longest reigning P.E.W World Champion in history, some 419 days since he lost that title, been trying to get back in contention to regain it. Again, another one of those guys where it's a case of by any means necessary. We've seen him fake injury, cheat in a number of different ways, Lance Revera. Then again, he's never exactly been a man of integrity, has he?
I tell you what, he is a man of championship caliber. Why wouldn't he brag about holding that belt for that long? This is not just a gimmick, this is his life.
Trying to intimidate the referee. Yeah, you're going to ignore that and continue on your little monologue there, right?
I'll tell you about Lance Revera.
His opponent.
Both Joey Scott and Lance Revera were part of that four-way elimination match at Seeing Green a few weeks ago for the 2025 I Am Phenomenal Trophy. And Revera using more of his cheating tactics to take out Joey Scott from that match. In the end, Revera didn't win it either, smashing Mike the winner. But Scott with revenge on his mind. It's been a rough couple of months for Joey Scott. Back in February at Brave New World, losing that lumberjack match to 40 where Scott's own family turned against him.
Yeah, that's got to be brutal, Dave.
Joey Scott been in the game a long time and he's not going to take any nonsense, I'm sure. Any of the shenanigans that no doubt Lance Revera, the so-called Playboy Prince, is going to try here against Scott. Someone's found a belt.
I know, and I appreciate that. It's resourceful.
Well, I guess Lance Revera is a man who you might also describe as resourceful in the worst of possible ways.
Well, it's successful resourceful. and effective resourceful. Both of these men are fantastic competitors, but what gives one the edge over the other? That's the question that any time the bell does in fact ring, we have to ask ourselves. And in the case of Lance Revera, it's being able to use his opponent's insecurities, weaknesses, any aspects of this game to his advantage. Look, it's happening right here, trying to get in the head of Joey Scott.
Revera was victorious 2-1 in a series of 3 matches against Harrison Bennett over the past few months. Again, by questionable means, both of the 2 that he won in that series. Joey Scott going to be backed into the corner here by Revera. He's got a handful of Scott's ears, I think. Scott's like, well, if you're allowed to do it, I'm allowed to do it too.
Look, turnabout's fair play, and like I said, he's got a 5 count. You might as well use it. I love seeing that from Joey Scott.
Revera has decided it doesn't like that taste of his own medicine. He's scarpered to the outside here, and he's getting an earful from the P.E.W fans. That's what he deserves.
Rev needs to get Joey Scott back into his corner so that he can allow Lance Revera to get back in the ring, and we can continue this match in a respectful manner.
Yeah, suddenly you're a real stickler for the rules, aren't you? Revera trying to get back in the ring, but realizing that Scott's going to be straight on top of him, or maybe he shouldn't have fled the ring in the first place. Rivera sacrificing the high ground here to Joey Scott.
Joey Scott really cared. He'd go out to the ring and bring Lance back in himself. I don't see that happening to you.
Well, why give up the advantageous position you're in if you're Joey Scott? Rivera's going to have to get back in eventually, because otherwise the referee's going to count to 10 here. What is he doing? He decided to
back into the ring. Do you want him to get back in the ring or not? He's taking advantage of the seating
furniture
around him. Yeah, exactly.
just thinks it's a sense of entitlement that I don't get with Lance Revera. That's one of the most annoying things, just thinking he can just steal someone's seat to help him have a step up to get back into the ring. There you go, he's got a bit of help back into the ring there from Joey Scott. I don't think he liked it though. Revera trying to escape the grasp there, gets behind with a rear waist lock. Great counter from Scott, dropping down into an arm drag, second arm drag there. Trying for a third, Revera will stop that one from happening. Well, no, he won't. Scott goes round the back, gets the arm drag in the end.
Scott waited patiently for Lance Revera to get back in the ring, and now he's using all the tools in his arsenal.
Revera tried for the hip toss. Yeah, Scott who's able to get it. And things not going the way of the, again, self-proclaimed, your girlfriend's favourite wrestler, Lance Revera.
Beautiful move from Joey Scott. And once again, Lance Revera rolling to the outside. The ring awareness saw himself get catapulted to the corner. Needs a second to breathe. Might as well take it.
Scott going to go after Revera there. Revera just sidestepping. Scott leaping up onto the apron. Trying to kick Revera, but Rivera's going to sweep the leg away. And Scott landing hard on his back on the ring apron.
The hardest part of the ring, Dave.
You're a historian of P.E.W. You'll know a couple of years ago, these two were considered allies. That feels like a long time ago now, as Revera sending Scott spine first set into the ring post. Revera, as ever, a high opinion of himself. Rolling Scott back into the ring.
Revera riding high after a great week of inspirational stuff that he's seen throughout the sporting world, trying to take some of that energy.
You're talking about the fact he's a Man United fan, that's what you're discussing.
Certainly am, fan of one of the finest teams in the history of sports.
Yeah, absolute textbook win for them this week, wasn't it?
Well, it was grit, determination, it was tenacity, it was tactical, new.
It was chaos. It was chaos.
And a little bit of chaos sprinkled in. Isn't that the magic you like to see? And he's going to bring some of that chaos to the ring. That's why he held that championship for the longest time. That's why Joey Scott is currently on the ropes, and Lance Revera stands tall.
In the case of Revera, one of the reasons he was champion for a long time is, like he's been doing ever since, he will do anything to break the rules if it gives him an advantage. Nothing wrong with that though, perfectly within the rules, that suplex, and it was well executed from Revera. He's going to drape himself on top of the torso there of Scott for a 2 count, but a little lackadaisical on the cover there from Revera.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one there, Dave. He just needs to find a way to head it home. Maybe go for a better cover.
Right hands here from Joey Scott. Rivera on the ropes. Reversal of the Irish whip though, and a drop kick sends Scott down.
It's another picture-perfect move from
Look at the pose.
Rivera.
Look at the pose afterwards. There's not a single redeeming quality for Lance Revera, other than perhaps the fact that, annoyingly, he is an extremely talented professional wrestler.
Oh, he's fantastic, though. He's fantastic, and that's what allows him the arrogance to take covers like that, to pose after hitting a picture-perfect drop.
He doesn't need to cheat. He doesn't need to cheat. He's good enough not to cheat, so why does he always do it? That wasn't a rhetorical question. You can answer it.
Sorry, sometimes I can never tell with you. You're seeing tactical choices.
Rivera.
I would answer you, but in the meantime, he's showing once again just the wrestler he is with a high back body drop.
You would give me an answer, but you don't have one, is the problem. There's Rivera with another suplex. Going to hook both legs this time. Much tighter pin that time from Rivera, and got him closer to the 3 count as a result.
Sometimes it's a willingness to really go to the far reaches of the rule book in professional wrestling. That's what separates challengers from champions.
Rivera should hire you as his spin doctor.
Did you want an answer or not?
Or was that an answer to that question? The question I asked about 10 minutes ago.
I don't know what you're talking
Wow.
about.
It took a while. Rivera now going to stretch out Joey Scott, and forcing those arms backwards into an unnatural position. Rivera just torturing Joey Scott here, that knee buried in the gap between the shoulder blades.
Here's Scott yelling in agony, trying to summon what strength he can to get out of that. Turn it around somehow, but Rivera says no thank you with a kick to the midsection.
Going to look for another one of those suplexes, I think, Rivera. This time, yeah, Joey Scott knew it was coming. Here's a Russian leg sweep from Scott. Scott holding on. Going to try and turn it into a cover. He's got the shoulders of Rivera down. On his feet there was Joey Scott, but Rivera firing back with an elbow. Quickly regaining the upper hand. Condone that, go on. Condone that sort of behaviour. It's the trash talking, the kicking away, the disrespect to a veteran like Joey Scott.
Respect is a two-way street, and I haven't seen Scott show much respect to Rivera. But in the meantime, when you have an opportunity to get in your opponent's head, to throw them off their game, if your opponent is somewhat of the caliber of Joey Scott, you might as well try. Throw them off their game. Get in their head. Show them that disrespect. Trash talk. Do any little trick you can to gain the upper hand. And right now, Joey Scott is outside the ring. The ref is on a count of 5. Lance Revera looks like he's going to take the win here.
Yeah, that's a count of 7 before Scott got back in.
And right on the attack there, Lance Revera.
Yeah, Rivera was just lying in wait in case Scott beat the count. Scott was well aware, or rather Rivera was well aware that as soon as Scott got back in there, he was going to have to get straight back on offense, but Scott outsmarted him there. Joey Scott going to slingshot Lance Rivera into the corner.
Speaking to the fact that these two know each other as well as they do, Dave, as you were mentioning earlier on.
Scott with the fists here into the skull of Lance Rivera multiple times. Rivera will shove him away. Scott will land on his feet. Great agility from Joey Scott, who stays on top with a pair of clotheslines here. Rivera tried to come back with one of his own. Can't get it. Instead, butterfly suplex. Textbook delivery on the suplex from Joey Scott.
Scott needing to dig down deep, take advantage of this momentum that he started to build. Looks to be climbing to the top rope, going high risk.
Yeah, Scott, top turnbuckle. Rivera in all kinds of trouble here. I think he was trying to claim he had a back injury there, Rivera. Certainly wasn't the case, looking for the lady killer. Couldn't get it. Danny Marks, I heard, just shaking his head, refusing to stand for the nonsense of Lance Rivera, who again was claiming an injury.
Well, if you think there's a chance that one of your wrestlers is injured, it behooves you as a referee, to take care of them. Danny Marks shaking his head at the idea of an injury.
Problem is that Lance Revera is the boy who cried wolf, isn't he, in that regard? Rivera trying to go back after Scott. Rivera rolling back.
Roll up.
Hands on the trunks in. Hands are on the trunks. How many times are you going to cheat here, Rivera? And Scott gets the shoulders down. Nothing wrong with that pin on the part of Scott. Ooh! Trying to use the referee as a human shield.
Danny Marks needs to get right out of the way.
Oh, lady killer. The lady killer.
That's it.
The hook of the leg, and Lance Revera again uses diversionary tactics, smoke and mirrors, to get a victory here in P.E.W.
Classic Dave Bradshaw to try and spin something like Danny Marks getting in the way into somehow Lance Rivera is responsible for that.
He pulled him in the way.
He was in the way.
Pulled him into the way.
Ring in a while. Danny Marks hasn't figured out how to stay out of the way. He's a bit rusty. We said it before. And unfortunately, in that case, it cost Joey Scott. If he was a good referee, he would have given him an opportunity. But Lance Rivera is the one taking advantage of the moment. That hard lady killer. And number one stands tall.
Yeah, Rivera with a smirk on his face, pleased with his day's work. He's always pleased with himself, isn't he, Lance Rivera? Saw him try and feign injury. Saw him get a handful of trunks and eventually pulling the referee in the way. Another one of his classic tactics. And he has a full repertoire of dirty tricks up his sleeve, does Lance Rivera. And as so often we've seen, another one of those helping him out.
As he continues his march back to the top of the mountain. Longest reigning P.E.W champ. One day he's going to hold that belt again, I feel certain of it.
God, I hope not. I think we all hope not, except you maybe. Lance Rivera victorious here. Again, put an asterisk by it, but it is a win for the Playboy Prince here at Bangers.